Hello guys, welcome to Saiyan What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Goku unlocked Limitless God Ki? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Shattered Ceiling. The weighted training GI clung to Goku's skin, saturated with sweat despite the mountain air's crisp bite. 3,000 repetitions of his most intensive kata had barely elevated his heart rate. 4 hours of meditation in the waterfall's pounding cascade had revealed nothing new. 6 attempts to push his Ultra Instinct transformation beyond its current threshold had yielded only frustration. Goku stood atop Mount Paozu's highest peak, the afternoon sun casting his elongated shadow across weathered stone. Something was wrong. Not with his body, he'd never felt stronger, but with his progress. He'd reached a plateau unlike any he'd encountered before. "I know there's more," he muttered, studying his calloused palm. The cells of his body hummed with untapped potential. Like a locked door he couldn't find the key for. "I can feel it." Since the Tournament of Power, a restlessness had taken root in him. The brief taste of Ultra Instinct had opened his senses to new dimensions of power. Godly realms that remained tantalizingly out of reach. Victory against Jiren should have satisfied him. Instead, it had only intensified his hunger. The wind changed direction abruptly, carrying an unfamiliar scent, metallic and sharp. Goku's eyes narrowed as he scanned the horizon. No visible threat, but his instincts rarely misled him. He closed his eyes, extending his key sense outward. Earth's familiar energy signatures pulsed in his awareness. Vegeta training in the gravity chamber, Piccolo meditating at the lookout, Gohan lecturing at the university. But beyond them, at the edges of his perception, something disturbed the cosmic fabric. A dissonance, a tremor in reality itself. His concentration shattered when his phone vibrated, still an unfamiliar sense. Asian after Bulma had insisted everyone carry one after their last world-ending crisis. "Hello, Goku." Bulma's voice crackled with static. "We're picking up strange energy readings. Something's coming. Not a ship or entity, more like a disturbance." "I feel it too." Goku gazed upward. The sky remained blue, cloudless, deceptively ordinary. "Where's it centered?" "That's the strange part. Readings suggest it's everywhere and nowhere. But the strongest concentration appears to be near the spot where Beerus and you first fought." Goku's fingers tightened around the device. "I'll check it out. Wait. I'm sending Vegeta to." He ended the call, placing 2 fingers against his forehead. The familiar technique of instant transmission connected him to the cosmic web of energy that bound all existence. In the moment before teleportation, a discordant note rippled through that web, wrong, jarring, like a perfect crystal developing a crack. The wasteland materialized around him, a desolate expa. NSE still bearing scars from his battle with Beerus years ago. Massive craters pockmarked the landscape, monuments to punches that had nearly shattered planets. Goku stood at the epicenter of their most devastating exchange, where he had first accessed God Ki. The air felt different here, thinner somehow, as though reality itself had worn thin. Subtle distortions wavered at the edge of vision, like heat mirages in dimensions beyond human perception. The ground beneath his feet vibrated with a subsonic hum that rattled his bones. "Something's definitely not right," he murmured, crouching to press his palm against the earth. Through his fingertips, he sensed erratic pulses of energy, not ki exactly, but something fundamental, as though the physical constants themselves were fluctuating. A sound, like shattering glass echoed across the wasteland, though nothing visible had broken. The sky darkened suddenly, not with clouds but with something more disturbing. Patches of emptiness appeared overhead. Absolute voids where stars winked into visibility despite the afternoon sun. Goku stood, dropping instinctively into a fighting stance. "Who's there? Show yourself." No answer came except another crystalline fracturing sound, this time accompanied by visible distortions in the air, reality folding upon itself in impossible geometries. The temperature plummeted, his breath fogged before him. Then came pain, unexpected and intense. Goku doubled over as something seized his core, like an invisible hand squeezing his very essence. This wasn't physical damage but something deeper, as though the God Ki within him resonated with the disturbance, straining against limitations he hadn't known existed. What is happening? He gasped, struggling to maintain his footing. A voice responded, not audible but directly in his mind, ancient and layered with countless overlapping tones. The ceiling shatters. The limit breaks. The divine barrier falls. The pain intensified, driving Goku to his knees. His aura flared involuntarily, cycling rapidly through his transformations. Base form, Super Saiyan God, Blue. Each manifestation of power lasted only seconds before giving way to the next. His body struggling to stabilize. I don't understand, he ground out through clenched teeth. You have touched divinity but not embraced it. Half measures, partial transformations. The door stands ajar, neither open nor closed. The voice carried no malice, only a profound indifference, like a natural force explaining itself out of curiosity rather than necessity. The boundaries between mortal and divine weaken. An opportunity emerges. Will you step through? Despite the agony radiating through his body, Goku's fighting spirit flared. If there's a new level of power, I'll reach it my own way. That's always been my path. Quote, a sound like distant laughter rippled through the dimensional fractures. Your way is insufficient. The gods created boundaries for a reason. But reasons change. Rules evolve. Even divine constants must adapt. The ground beneath him cracked, golden light seeping upward through fissures in reality. Not ordinary light, it moved with purpose, coiling around Goku's limbs like curious serpents. Where it touched him, his skin tingled with recognition. This energy felt familiar yet fundamentally different from any ki he had encountered, purer, more primal, unfiltered by divine hierarchy. There exists ki beyond God Ki. Power the destroyers themselves cannot access. The true essence that predates the divine order. The golden tendrils thickened, wrapping around Goku more completely. He tried to resist, to push away from whatever was happening, but his body refused to respond. The energy wasn't attacking, it was merging, resonating with something deep within his Saiyan cells. Your mortal frame has adapted to godly power in ways unexpected. An anomaly, a singularity, the perfect vessel. I'm not anyone's vessel, Goku protested, struggling against the invasive energy. Whatever you're trying to do, I do nothing. I am merely the messenger. The opportunity, the door. You have spent a lifetime breaking limits. Why hesitate before the ultimate threshold? He question struck something fundamental in Goku's warrior spirit. Throughout his life, from his earliest battles to his most recent godly clashes, he had never backed down from a challenge, never refused. Said a chance to transcend his limitations. His resistance faltered, and in that moment of acceptance, everything changed. The golden light surged, no longer external but erupting from within him. His cells ignited with primal energy, every atom vibrating at frequencies that distorted the air around him. Power flooded his system, raw, unfiltered, overwhelming. Not the careful, controlled divinity of God Ki, but something wilder. More fundamental. Goku screamed as his consciousness expanded beyond his physical form. His perception stretched outward, beyond Earth, beyond the solar system, beyond the galaxy. He sensed every living being in Universe 7 simultaneously, quadrillions of lives, each distinct, each connected by invisible threads of energy. Further still, he felt the boundaries between universes. The 12 distinct realities separated by divine decree. His body lifted from the ground, suspended by forces beyond mortal understanding. The transformation reshaped him cell by cell, not merely enhancing what existed but fundamentally altering the interaction between matter and energy within his form. His muscle fibers realigned to channels that could contain energies never meant for mortal vessels. His nervous system reconfigured to process sensory information beyond physical dimensions. The wasteland responded to his metamorphosis. Gravity fluctuated wildly, boulders floating up, ward before crashing down with multiplied force. Lightning arced from clear sky, striking in precise patterns that carved ancient symbols into the earth. The ground itself liquefied and reformed, aping the landscape into concentric circles centered on his floating form. Across Earth, consequences manifested immediately. Tidal patterns shifted globally as gravitational constants temporarily destabilized. Aurora-like phenomena appeared simultaneously at both poles, sheets of impossible color rippling across the atmosphere. Electronic systems worldwide experienced momentary failures, digital displays showing the same cryptic symbol for precisely 3 seconds before resuming normal function. In the sacred world of the Kais, the Supreme Kai collapsed mid-conversation, overwhelmed by the psychic backlash of Goku's transformation. Ancient texts in his library combusted spontaneously, their prophecies fulfilled and thus no longer needed. In Beerus's temple, the god of destruction awoke with a startled snarl. His fur standing on end. "What is that?" he demanded, purple energy flaring around his form. Whis stood perfectly still, his staff trembling for the first time in millions of years. Something that should not be possible. His typically composed features showed genuine concern. Son Goku has transcended the established hierarchy. Transcended? How? Beerus leapt from his bed, ears flattened against his skull. Even gods operate within boundaries. Those boundaries, Whis said quietly, appear to have been rewritten. Back on Earth, the transformation reached its climax. Goku's body emitted light so intense that satellites passing overhead recorded it as a new star being born. His traditional golden blue god ki aura evolved, shifting through spectral colors before settling into something entirely new, a scintillating aurora containing hues impossible for human eyes to fully process, with patterns that seemed to extend into dimensions beyond the visible. When the light finally diminished, Goku hovered 20 feet above a perfectly circular crater half a mile wide. His appearance had changed subtly but fundamentally. His muscular definition remained, but now his skin occasionally rippled with subsurface energy, like liquid light flowing beneath mortal flesh. His hair retained its basic shape but seemed composed of concentrated starlight rather than solid matter. Shifting colors that corresponded to his thoughts and emotions. His eyes had become multifaceted cosmic voids that somehow contained entire galaxies within their depths. He descended slowly, feet touching the glassed surface of the crater floor. Each step left momentary impressions of cosmic nebulae that faded seconds later. The air around him hummed with potentiality, reality itself becoming more malleable in his presence. Goku examined his hands with wonder, watching energy flow visibly beneath his skin like luminous rivers. "This is different," he said, his voice carrying harmonic overtones that resonated at multiple frequencies simultaneously. He cleared his throat, consciously dampening the effect. "Really different." His enhanced senses extended in all directions simultaneously. He perceived the molecular composition of the air, the quantum fluctuations in seemingly empty space, the precise position and momentum of subatomic particles, impossibilities according to physics. Yet perfectly clear to his new perception. More disturbingly, he sensed watchful presences suddenly focusing on Earth. Divine attention from across the multiverse, drawn by the unprecedented energy signature of his transformation. Some curious, some alarmed, some openly hostile. One presence in particular approached rapidly, a controlled tear in space-time opening approximately half a mile from his position. Goku turned, instinctively dropping into a defensive stance before the portal fully materialized. A woman stepped through the dimensional rift, which sealed seamlessly behind her. Tall and athletic, she wore fitted black armor with red geometric patterns that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Her silver hair was pulled back in a practical braid, contrasting with deep mahogany skin. Most striking were her eyes, amber irises with rectangular pupils like those of a destroyer deity. She assessed Goku with clinical precision, her expression revealing nothing as she completed a full circuit around him, maintaining exactly 20 paces of distance. "Impossible," she finally stated, her voice clipped and formal with an accent Goku couldn't place. "The containment protocol should have prevented this level of integration." "Who are you?" Goku asked, remaining in his defensive stance. "Vala, former candidate for Universe 11's God of Destruction." She made a subtle gesture. With her left hand, a diagnostic technique rather than an attack. "Your energy signature is unprecedented. You've somehow accessed Primordial Ki." Primordial Ki, the raw creative force that predates the divine hierarchy. Her eyes narrowed. Power that even the Omni King carefully partitions and regulates. She took one step closer, her own aura manifesting, controlled destroyer energy with unusual stability. "What you've done should have disintegrated your mortal form instantly." Goku relaxed slightly, sensing no immediate aggression despite her obvious concern. I don't fully understand what happened myself. There was a voice, talking about breaking ceilings and limits. Vala's expression shifted microscopically. The axiom made contact directly. That's. She paused, recalibrating her assessment. Even more concerning. The what now? The axiom. Not an entity precisely, more a foundational principle of reality that occasionally develops limited sentience during cosmic transition points. She studied him with increased intensity. It hasn't manifested in 13 billion years. Before Goku could respond, another presence registered, approaching not through dimensiona. Rifting but moving through normal space at extraordinary speed. Both warriors turned toward the new arrival. A figure descended from the sky, feminine but with inhuman grace. She wore flowing garments of deep purple and black that moved according to currents beyond normal air flow. Her skin held an opalescent quality that shifted colors subtly with each movement. Most unusual were the delicate crystalline structures that grew naturally from her shoulders and forearms, catching light in hypnotic patterns. My, the newcomer said, her voice melodic with subtle layered harmonics. The rumors, racing through the demon realm weren't exaggerated for once. She circled Goku in the opposite direction from Vala, completing a triangle formation between them. A mortal wielding unfiltered creation energy. How absolutely fascinating. Lyra, Vala acknowledged coldly. Demon realm involvement makes this situation exponentially worse. The demoness smiled, revealing teeth too perfectly aligned to be natural. I'm merely an observer, representing scholarly interests. This event has set off quite the commotion across the realms. She focused entirely on Goku. You, warrior, have achieved something beings have theorized about for eons but dismissed as impossible. Goku looked between the two women, sensing the tension between them transcended their reaction to his transformation. Look, I'm still figuring this out myself. If either of you knows what's happening, I'd appreciate a straight answer. Lyra laughed, a sound like crystal wind chimes. Directness from a being who just rewrote fundamental cosmic laws. Delightful. She moved closer, her crystalline structures refracting light into complex patterns. Simply put, warrior, you've accessed the source code of reality, the primordial energy that the gods themselves can only utilize in diluted, filtered forms. Which makes you an existential threat to established cosmic order, Vala interjected. Intentionally or not, Lyra countered, the harbinger of necessary evolution. Stagnation is the true death of any system, even divine ones. Goku's patience thinned. With a thought, he released a controlled pulse of his new energy, not harmful but sufficient to capture both women's complete attention. The pulse created momentary duplicates of all three of them, echo images showing potential movements before they occurred. Then collapsing back into their original forms. Enough, he said, his voice temporarily carrying that multi-tonal quality again. I need practical information, not cryptic statements or philosophical debates. Both women fell silent, reassessing him with new caution. His casual demonstration revealed control that should have been impossible for someone newly exposed to such power. Vala spoke first, adjusting her approach. Your transformation has bypassed the divine energy filtration systems built into reality itself. Normal God Ki is regulated, power permitted to flow through carefully designed channels, maintaining cosmic balance. What you're channeling now is raw, unfiltered, and theoretically limitless. The consequences, Lyra added, her playfulness diminishing, extend beyond mere power scaling. Your existence in this state challenges fundamental assumptions about mortality, divinity, and the boundaries between them. Already, you've drawn attention from entities better left undisturbed, Vala continued. The ripples of your transformation have reached across all 12 universes, possibly beyond. I sense them, Goku acknowledged. Watching, assessing. Some will seek to study you, Lyra said. Others to recruit you. Many will attempt to eliminate what they perceive as a threat. Her crystalline structures darkened slightly, reflecting her gravity. The multiverse abhors innovation, especially in scheduled ones. Goku processed this, leveraging his enhanced cognitive abilities. The implications expanded in his mind like branching lightning, consequences upon consequences, rippling outward across space and time. I never wanted to disrupt anything, he said finally. I just wanted to keep growing stronger. Intent is irrelevant at this scale, Vala stated. Results are what matter, and the result is unprecedented instability in systems designed to remain constant for trillions of years. A new energy signature interrupted them, familiar but approaching too quickly for normal movement. Space bent slightly, and Whis appeared with Beerus at his side. The angel's typical serenity had given way to alert focus, while the god of destruction's tail lashed with agitated energy. "Son Goku," Whis said, his voice carefully neutral, "you appear to have encountered something unexpected during your training." Beerus was less diplomatic. "What have you done, Saiyan?" he demanded, purple destruction energy flickering around his form. "Your key signature just rewrote itself across multiple dimensional planes." Goku turned toward them, and Beerus involuntarily took half a step backward, a reaction so uncharacteristic that Whis actually placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. "Lord Beerus," Goku acknowledged, consciously dampening his aura. "Whis, I'm still figuring that out myself." Whis studied him with unsettling intensity, his staff hovering horizontally without physical support. "You've somehow accessed Nexus Key," he stated, using a term neither Vala nor Lyra had mentioned. "Impossible," Beerus hissed. "That's restricted even from destroyers." "Evidently not," Whis replied mildly, though the tension in his posture betrayed his concern. His attention shifted to the two women. "Vala, former destroyer candidate, your presence is protocol appropriate, if unexpected." However, his eyes narrowed at Lyra. "Demon realm involvement is irregular." "Merely observational," Lyra repeated, offering a formal bow that managed to convey both respect and dismissal simultaneously. "The Demon King himself sent me to assess, not interfere." "That distinction may prove academic," Whis responded. His focus returned to Goku. "Your transformation has triggered priority alerts across all divine hierarchies. The Grand Priest himself will likely." Before he could finish, another dimensional tear opened, larger and more precisely formed than Vala's entrance. Through it stepped a diminutive figure with pale blue skin and elaborate white hair. Though physically unimposing, his presence carried unmistakable authority. "Grand Minister," Whis acknowledged, bowing deeply. The newcomer didn't return the greeting, his attention fixed entirely on Goku. "Fascinating," he said, his voice gentle yet carrying impossible distances. The calculations suggested this eventuality had a probability of approximately 1 in 77 trillion. Yet here we are. He approached Goku directly, showing none of the caution displayed by the others. "May I?" he asked, extending a hand. Goku nodded, curious despite the tension surrounding them. The Grand Minister placed his palm against Goku's chest, closing his eyes briefly. When he opened them, something rarely seen flickered across his features, genuine surprise. "Perfect integration," he murmured. "The energy isn't merely contained but harmonized. Your mortal frame has reconfigured itself at the quantum level to channel Nexus Key naturally." He withdrew his hand, a faint smile forming. "Most unexpected, most interesting." "As this, aloud?" Beerus asked carefully. Aloud, the Grand Minister's laugh was like distant bells. "There are no regulations for impossibilities, Lord Beerus. We find ourselves in uncharted waters." He regarded Goku thoughtfully. "The question becomes not what rules have been broken, but what new ones must be established." Goku felt the weight of cosmic politics descending upon a burden potentially heavier than the power itself. "I didn't ask for this," he said, his enhanced perception detecting shifts in the dimensional fabric as additional divine entities focused their attention on Earth. "I just wanted to grow stronger to protect my home and test my limits. And in doing so, you've become a focal point for forces beyond mortality," the Grand Minister said. "Intenti on and outcome often diverge at the highest levels of existence." The sky darkened again, but differently than before, patterns of light and shadow forming that corresponded to no natural phenomena. The Grand Minister glanced upward, his expression sharpening. "It seems our conversation has drawn notice from sectors typically content to observe from afar." He turned to Whis. "Preparations will be necessary. Universal protocols must be adjusted." To Beerus, "Your authority remains intact, though its application may require recalibration." To Vala and Lyra, he merely nodded, acknowledging their essence without specifying their roles in what would follow. Finally, he addressed Goku directly. "Son Goku, you stand at a nexus point, a convergence of possibilities. The power you now wield carries our Responsibilities beyond mortal comprehension. How you proceed will determine much. With those cryptic words, the Grand Minister opened another dimensional passage and departed as quickly as he had arrived, leaving behind a silence heavy with implication. Beerus broke it first. "This complicates everything," he growled, ears flattened. "An understatement of cosmic proportions," Lyra remarked, her crystalline structures shifting to reflect subtle humor despite the gravity of the situation. "The immediate concern," Vala interjected, "is stabilization. Nexus Key doesn't merely enhance the wielder, it alters local reality according to subconscious patterns. Until you achieve complete conscious control, your emotional states could have unpredictable consequences." As if to illustrate her point, the ground around Goku's feet suddenly sprouted vibrant vegetation, flowers and grasses of species that had never existed on Earth, responding to his momentary appreciation of their beauty by spontaneously manifesting. Goku looked down in surprise. "Did I just create new life forms through casual thought?" "Yes," Lyra confirmed, kneeling to examine a crystalline flower with evident fascination. "A minor manifestation, but illustrative of the larger issue. You require instruction," Whis stated. "Unfortunately, no current deity possesses experience with raw Nexus Key. The knowledge was deliberately partitioned during the formation of the current multiverse. I've studied theoretical applications," Vala offered reluctantly. "My candidacy for Destroyer included access to restricted archives. And the Demon Realm maintains records from before the Great Partition," Lyra added. "Practical techniques rather than merely theoretical frameworks. Their offers, though practical, carried obvious political implications. Alignment with either would position Goku within existing power structures and rivalries, consequences he could now perceive with his enhanced awareness. I appreciate the offers," he said carefully. "But I need time to understand this myself first. My way has always been to learn through experience." Whis nodded approvingly. "Wise, though time may be a luxury circumstances don't permit. Your transformation has already triggered responses throughout the divine hierarchy. Some will not wait for you to master your abilities before acting. Then I'll deal with those situations as they arise," Goku replied, a hint of his characteristic determination emerging through the cosmic awareness. "That's also my way," Beerus snorted, still stubbornly independent despite wielding the power of creation itself. "Some things don't change, which is precisely why he could integrate the power without disintegration," Lyra observed. "Fundamental consistency within radical transformation, a rare combination." Vala's attention shifted suddenly to the sky. "Something approaches. Multiple signatures, coordinated movement." Goku extended his senses outward, immediately detecting what had captured her attention. 7 distinct energy patterns moving in perfect formation, divine but unfamiliar, neither destroyer nor supreme Kai in nature. "The Arbiters," Whis explained, his typical composure slipping further. "They haven't manifested in this universe since its formation." "Arbiters?" Goku questioned. "Enforcers of cosmic law," Beerus growled. "Above even destroyers in the hierarchy. They adjudicate violations of fundamental reality principles. Their appearance confirms the severity of the situation," Vala added, her formal demeanor tensing into alert readiness. "They don't investigate. They render judgment." The approaching entities decelerated, their formation tightening as they descended through the atmosphere. They appeared humanoid but with distinctly artificial aspects, not mechanical but precision crafted from materials unknown in mortal science. Each wore armor of identical design but different coloration, their featureless faces marked only by 7 eyes arranged in different patterns. They landed in a perfect heptagon formation surrounding Goku and the others, moving with synchronized precision. Though they carried no visible weapons, the air around them distorted slightly, reality itself responding to their authority. Anomaly detected. They spoke in perfect unison, their voices neither male nor female. Unauthorized access to Nexus Key by mortal entity. Protocol absolute initiated. Quote. Whis stepped forward, staff planted firmly. "Honorable Arbiters, circumstances suggest exceptional consideration rather than standard protocols. Protocols exist precisely for exceptional circumstances," they responded, still in perfect unison. "The mortal designate Son Goku has accessed energies forbidden since the third recursion. Assessment and containment must proceed according to established parameters." "Containment?" Goku questioned, sensing dangerous intent beneath their formal language. The arbiters, attention focused entirely on him. Your existence in this state constitutes a priority violation of cosmic equilibrium. Standard procedure requires energy sequestration and memory redaction. Translation. They intended to strip him of his W power and erase all knowledge of its existence. Goku's aura flared involuntarily, the multi-hued energy responding to his emotion. Reality rippled outward from him in concentric waves, temporarily easing the arbiters in place despite their divine authority. I don't think so, he stated simply. The display of power, casually neutralizing entities that outranked destroyers, created a moment of stunned silence. Lyra recovered first, a smile playing across her features. It seems your assessment protocols may require updating, honorable arbiters. The traditional containment approach appears technically unfeasible. The arbiters broke free of the temporal effect with visible effort, their synchronization momentarily disrupted. When they spoke again, their voices carried subtle differences in timing. Alternative assessment pathways activation required. Stand by. They went utterly motionless, apparently consulting some higher authority or processing new information. This is unprecedented, Vala murmured. Arbiters never reconsider their initial judgment. They've never encountered Nexus Key in a mortal vessel before, Whis pointed out. Established protocols assume divine entities who understand constraints. Son Goku operates differently. The arbiters reanimated simultaneously. Assessment parameters adjusted. New classification. Evolutionary anomaly designation Alpha. Stan. DARD containment protocols suspended pending Cosmic Council review. Their perfect formation shifted, opening to allow movement. Son Goku, your presence is requested at the multiversal nexus for comprehensive evaluation. Compliance is advised though not mandatory under revised parameters. The phrasing revealed just how dramatically the situation had departed from standard procedure. Divine entities at this level didn't advise, or present options, they decreed. And if I decline? Goku asked, not confrontationally but seeking clarity. Consequences undefined, they replied with disconcerting honesty. No precedent exists. Probability matrices suggest significant multiverse-wide repercussions regardless of your decision. Goku considered the implications, his enhanced cognition processing. Countless potential outcomes simultaneously. In his previous forms, he might have responded impulsively. Now, he perceived subtleties and consequences with unprecedented clarity. I'll attend your evaluation, he decided, but on my terms. I won't be confined or restricted, and I return to Earth when I choose. The arbiters remained silent for several seconds, an eternity in divine communication terms. Terms acknowledged. They finally responded. Multiversal transit will commence at your readiness. I'm going to, Vala stated firmly. Protocol permits observer status for representatives of affected hierarchies. As am I, Lyra added smoothly. The Accords explicitly grant Demon Realm participation in unprecedented classifications. The arbiters showed no reaction to these assertions. Observer protocols activated. Additional participants registered. Beerus stepped forward. As God of Destruction for Universe 7, I claim jurisdictional representation. Acknowledged. The arbiters confirmed. I shall accompany Lord Beerus as his attendant, Whis added, completing the entourage. Goku turned to his unexpected advocates, surprised by their willingness to involve themselves in what was clearly a volatile situation. Vala's participation aligned with her formal duties, but Lyra's motivations remained less transparent. Beerus and Whis had obvious jurisdictional interests, but their support still exceeded obligatory involvement. I appreciate the company, he said simply, genuine gratitude in his voice. One of the arbiters stepped forward, extending a hand. Multiversal transit requires anchor connection for associated entities. Primary anomaly may transit independently if preferred. Goku shook his head. We travel together. He reached out, completing the connection to the arbiter while extending his other hand to the group. As they linked hands, divine, demonic, mortal, and whatever classification Goku now occupied, the Saiyan felt something unexpected. Beyond the immense power now flowing through him, beyond the cosmic awareness expanding his consciousness, he sensed a familiar emotion, excitement. Despite the complications and potential danger, the warrior spirit that defined his core identity remained intact. This was uncharted territory, a new frontier of existence to explore and understand. The Arbiter initiated the transit sequence. Unlike instant transmission or even divine teleportation, this movement occurred outside normal dimensional parameters. Reality didn't blur or shift, it simply reconfigured around them, universal constants briefly suspending, to allow direct transfer to a location that existed beyond conventional space-time. The wasteland disappeared, replaced by a structure of impossible geometry, a citadel composed of materials that paired solid from some angles and gaseous from others, with architecture that incorporated dimensions beyond the standard four. Surrounding them stretched a vista of stars unlike any galaxy Goku had ever witnessed, celestial bodies arranged in perfect mathematical patterns, pulsing in coordinated sequences. The multiversal nexus, Whis explained softly. Few mortals have ever laid eyes upon it. Few immortals, for that matter. Lyra added, her crystalline structures resonating sympathetically with the environment. Vala maintained her professional composure, but Goku sensed her carefully controlled awe. Even Beerus appeared momentarily humbled by their surroundings. The council awaits, the arbiters announced. Proceed. They moved through corridors that defied conventional physics, space. That were simultaneously vast and intimate, ancient and newly formed. Entities of various forms observed their passage, some recognizably humanoid, others composed of pure energy or concepts given temporary form. Finally, they reached a chamber that expanded endlessly in all directions, centered around a circular platform where 12 figures waited, representatives from each universe, though none resembled the supreme Kais or gods of destruction Goku had previously encountered. As they approached, Goku felt the weight of evaluation upon him, not hostile but intensely focused, as though his essence was being deconstructed and analyzed at levels beyond cellular or atomic. The lead figure spoke, its form shifting subtly between various species and genders, never settling on a fixed appearance. Son Goku of Universe 7. You stand before the Cosmic Council as an unprecedented classification, a mortal vessel channeling unrestricted Nexus Ki. The figure's voice resonated at multiple frequencies simultaneously. This evaluation will determine much. Goku squared his shoulders, his unshakable spirit evident despite the overwhelming surroundings. Whatever judgment this council rendered, whatever challenges his transformation had initiated, he would face them as he always had, directly and with unwavering determination. The multi-hued aura of limitless God Ki flickered around him as he prepared to address entities that had likely never been questioned by a mortal before. Behind him, his unlikely allies positioned themselves supportively, representatives of different realms and higher archies momentarily united by their connection to the Saiyan who had once again broken through boundaries thought absolute. A new chapter in the multiverse had begun. Chapter 2. Cosmic Convergence. The multiversal nexus defied conventional description, a place between universes where reality bent according to conceptual rather than physical laws. Within its central evaluation chamber, Goku stood before the Cosmic Council. 12 entities whose forms continuously shifted between manifestations of their respective universes, dominant species. Unprecedented, intoned the third counselor, her voice cascading through octaves impossible for human vocal cords. The mortal vessel not only contains Nexus Ki but demonstrates perfect synergistic integration without structural degradation. Irregularity. Tai suggests deliberate external influence, countered the eighth counselor, his form momentarily stabilizing as a crystalline entity composed of interlocking geometric shapes. Random evolutionary advancement cannot explain this anomaly's emergence. Goku maintained his composure despite their clinical dissection of his existence. His enhanced perception allowed him to follow conversations occurring simultaneously on multiple frequency bands, the audible debate merely a courtesy facade for the true communion happening beyond conventional sensory thresholds. The chief counselor, whose position as indicated by a corona of symbols that rotated like a mathematical mobile, addressed Goku directly. Your transformation represents a fundamental paradigm shift in established cosmic hierarchies. Implications extend beyond your individual existence to affect foundational principles of reality governance. I understand this creates complications, Goku replied, choosing his words carefully. But I didn't seek to disrupt your systems. I only wanted to continue growing stronger. Intent remains irrelevant at this operational level, the seventh counselor stated, momentarily appearing as a vortex of luminous gases. Outcomes dictate necessary adjustments regardless of causative motivation. Vala stepped forward, her formal training evident in both posture and tone. Honorable Council, established precedent demands consideration of adaptive integration rather than corrective intervention. The anomaly demonstrates remarkable stability for unprecedented energy synchronization. Lyra smoothly inserted herself into the exchange, her demonic nature manifesting as subtle harmonics beneath her melodic voice. The historical archives of the demon realm contain references to 17 pr. Evious evolutionary divergences across cosmic cycles. In 15 cases, accommodation produced superior outcomes to restrictive containment. The council members exchanged glances, or what passed for glances among entities whose sensory apparatus transcended conventional perception. Their silent communion lasted precisely 13 seconds before the chief counselor responded. Your observations are noted, representatives. The corona of symbols accelerated briefly. However, this case transcends historical precedent. The mortal vessel has accessed creation energies previously restricted to NT. Ties with comprehensive conceptual understanding of cosmic consequences. Whis cleared his throat delicately. If I may, honored council, Son Goku has consistently demonstrated intuitive comprehension of energy mechanics beyond his formal education level. His adaptation to divine ki proceeded with remarkable efficiency despite lacking theoretical foundations. An experiential learner rather than theoretical practitioner, mused the fifth counselor, temporarily assuming a form resembling an abstract neural network. Unusual but not without precedential value. Beerus, maintaining uncharacteristic restraint until now, finally spoke. As the god of destruction for Universe 7, I formally acknowledge the anomaly as falling within my jurisdictional purview. I accept responsibility for monitoring and, if necessary, intervention. This declaration sent ripples of reaction through the council, a bold claim given the unprecedented nature of Goku's transformation. Your authority extends to conventional divine energies, Destroyer. The second counselor reminded him, tone sharp as crystallized time. Nexus Ki operates beyond established hierarchical constraints. Nevertheless, Beerus countered, standing his ground with remarkable political acumen, Universe 7 remains my designated territory. Any entity residing therein falls under my administrative domain regardless of power classification. The legal maneuvering surprised Goku, who had never witnessed this side of the typically impulsive destroyer. Through his enhanced perception, he sensed was subtly guiding his divine charge throw. The complex political exchange, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to establish jurisdictional claims before alternative administrative frameworks could be imposed. The council withdrew into another silent communion, this one extending for 47 seconds, an eternity in cosmic deliberation terms. When they emerged, the chief counselor's symbolic corona had reconfigured into a more orderly pattern. We acknowledge Universe 7's preliminary administrative claim with conditional parameters, the announcement came. A probationary oversight period is established, during which the anomaly will remain under observation while demonstrating controlled integration of Nexus Ki capabilities. Relief flickered briefly across Beerus's features before his typical scowl reasserted itself. However, continued the chief counselor, given the unprecedented nature of this development, additional oversight protocols are required. Representatives from adjacent hierarchical structures will participate in the monitoring process. Quote, Vala nodded professionally. Universe 11 acknowledges the directive. The demon realm accepts observational participation, Lyra added, her crystalline growths catching light in hypnotic patterns. Furthermore, the 10th counselor interjected, assuming a form composed of interlocking mechanical components, specialized analytical expertise is required to document energy pattern evolution. Universe 3 will provide technical assessment resources. At this pronouncement, a new dimensional aperture manifested within the chamber. Through it stepped a woman, whose appearance contrasted sharply with the metaphysical environment. She wore what resembled a laboratory coat reimagined through advanced technological principles, the fabric itself appearing to contain embedded circuitry and holographic interfaces that activated with her movements. Her blue-black hair was styled in a precise geometric bob, metallic threads woven through it functioning as computational arrays rather than mere decoration. Most striking were her eyes, cybernetically enhanced with visible scanning capabilities that assessed the chamber with methodical precision. Dr. Nari Lux, Universe 3 Analytical Division. She introduced herself, her voice crisp and modulated. Specialization in cross-dimensional energy pattern analysis and quantum consciousness integration. She approached Goku directly, seemingly unintimidated by either his new form or the divine assembly. A holographic interface materialized around her right hand as she made subtle gestures that initiated scanning protocols. Fascinating, she murmured, data streams reflecting in her enhanced eyes. The energy signatures demonstrate perfect quantum coherence across typically incompatible frequency bands. She circled him, professional curiosity overriding ceremonial protocol. Your cellular structure has reconstituted itself around multidimensional lattice configurations that theoretically shouldn't be stable in conventional space-time. Is that good? Goku asked, slightly uncomfortable with her clinical assessment. Good is an irrelevant qualifier in unprecedented phenomena, she replied without looking up from her readings. It's significant, revolutionary. The implications for energy transference mechanics alone could advance my research by centuries. She paused, finally meeting his gaze directly. You shouldn't exist, yet you do, and with remarkable stability. The sixth counselor, who had remained silent until now, manifested as a luminous humanoid form wreathed in floral patterns that continuously bloomed and withered. Balance requires complementary perspectives. Universe 2 will contribute harmonic assessment expertise. Another dimensional aperture opened, admitting a figure whose presence immediately altered the chamber's atmospheric composition. She moved with fluid grace, her form draped in garments that seemed woven from living blossoms and flowing water simultaneously. Her skin held a pearlescent quality that reflected environmental energies in prismatic patterns. Most distinctive was the elaborate headdress she wore, not a constructed accessory but apparently grown from her being. Crystalline structures intertwined with living vines that responded to her emotional state. Kata of the Celestial Gardens, she introduced herself, her voice containing harmonics that created subtle emotional resonances in those who heard it. Guardian of universal beauty and harmonic balance. Unlike Nari's clinical approach, Kata circled Goku in a flowing movement resembling ritual dance. The disruption ripples through cosmic aesthetics like stones cast into still waters, she observed, her expression contemplative. Yet the dissonance creates unexpected harmonic patterns. Beauty emerging from chaos rather than despite it. The contrast between Nari's technological analysis and Kata's aesthetic assessment created an unexpected tension. The two women approached the same phenomenon from perspectives so divergent they might have been examining entirely different subjects. Empirical measurement reveals concrete parameters, Nari stated, holographic data continuing to stream around her hands. The energy manifestation follows quantifiable patterns despite its unprecedented nature. The patterns themselves are merely expressions of deeper harmonic principles, Kata countered. Her headdress blooming with luminescent flowers reflecting her engagement. Quantification captures the surface while missing the essential resonance. Resonance is measurable, Nari replied with professional restraint. Subjective interpretation adds unnecessary variables to objective analysis. The exchange highlighted fundamental philosophical differences between their universal cultures, Universe 3's technological rationalism contrasting with Universe 2's aesthetic harmonicism. The chief counselor interrupted before their methodological debate could escalate further. Both analytical frameworks offer valuable perspectives for comprehensive assessment. Your complementary approaches will provide necessary evaluative balance. Goku observed these interactions with newfound awareness of their multidimensional implications. His enhanced perception revealed underlying currents of cosmic politics, carefully balanced power distributions, ancient rivalries, philosophical schisms. All briefly exposed through seemingly minor procedural decisions. What exactly am I being evaluated for? He finally asked, redirecting attention to the practical implications. You keep talking about monitoring and assessment. But what's the actual purpose here? The question created momentary silence, direct pragmatism disrupting ceremonial process. 3 primary objectives, the chief counselor eventually explained. Symbols reconfiguring into educational formations. First, determination of stability trajectories, whether your integration with Nexus Key will maintain coherence or degrade over time. Second, Assessment of influence patterns, how your existence affects surrounding reality frameworks at macro and micro scales. Third, precedent establishment, creating administrative protocols for potential future evolutionary divergences of similar classification. Essentially, Vala translated, they need to determine if you're stable, what effects you'll have on everything around you, and how to handle similar cases if they occur, which they inevitably will, Lyra added with certainty. Evolutionary thresholds, once breached, typically manifest repeatedly across variable timelines. Goku processed this information, connecting implications his previous self might have missed entirely. So I'm both a potential threat and a test case. An oversimplification, but fundamentally accurate. The fourth counselor acknowledged, momentarily appearing as a constellation of mathematical symbols. Your cooperation substantially impacts procedural parameters. In other words, how they treated him depended largely on how he behaved. I'll cooperate with reasonable evaluation, Goku stated, but I won't be restricted from protecting my home or continuing my training. Before the council could respond, alarms manifested, not conventional sounds but conceptual warnings that resonated through the chamber's metaphysical structure. The arbiters, who had maintained position at the chamber's periphery, suddenly activated, their seven-eyed faces illuminating with urgent patterns. Priority alert, they announced in perfect unison. Dimensional integrity breach detected in proximity to Universal Junction Alpha. Unauthorized entity transition in progress. The council members shifted instantly from deliberative to executive stance, their forms stabilizing into more functional configurations. Classification, demanded the chief counselor. Unknown, the arbiters replied. Energy signature contains contradictory pattern elements. Partial correspondence with historical records from Recursion 7. This response created visible concern among the council, something Goku wouldn't have thought possible from entities so detached from conventional emotion. Containment protocols, ineffective. Entity demonstrates advanced dimensional manipulation capabilities beyond standard countermeasures. The council entered emergency communion, their symbolic representations merging into a unified computational structure. When they separated, their decision had already been implemented, reality around them reconfiguring as the evaluation chamber transformed into a strategic command center. All administrative personnel transit to secure locations, ordered the chief counselor. Defensive perimeter establishment at Junction Alpha. Priority 1. Prevent entity access to universal core connections. Vala immediately shifted to combat readiness, her destroyer training evident in her precise movements. Permission to assist defensive operations. Granted. Coordinate with Junction Security Division. Lyra's demeanor changed subtly, her playful aspect receding beneath more calculated assessment. Demon Realm historical archives may contain relevant tactical information if entity indeed dates from Recursion 7. Access granted. Interface with Historical Division immediately. As Vala and Lyra departed through newly generated transit portals, Nari continued rapid analysis of incoming data streams. Her augmented vision processing information at extraordinary speeds. Energy signature contains temporal anomalies consistent with trans-recursive degradation, she reported. Quantum coherence patterns suggest entity exists partially outside conventional causality. Kata closed her eyes briefly, her headdress flowers shifting to deeper hues. The harmonic disruption car, i.e.'s patterns of deliberate dissonance, not chaotic but precisely calibrated to destabilize foundational resonances. Their complementary analyses painted a disturbing picture, whatever had breached dim. Enchantment barriers was both ancient and sophisticated, its very existence designed to undermine cosmic stability. Goku felt the threat assessment through his connection to Nexus Key, a discordant precinct. Propagating through reality's underlying structure. Without conscious decision, he stepped forward. I can help, he stated simply. The council's attention refocused on him, a potentially greater unknown suddenly volunteering against an immediate threat. Your capabilities remain unquantified, the eighth counselor observed. Deployment against unknown entity presents multiple unpredictable interaction scenarios. Sometimes the unexpected is exactly what's needed, Goku countered, his warrior instincts functioning perfectly alongside his enhanced awareness. And I learn best through direct experience. Beerus snorted. That's putting it mildly. The Saiyan's entire combat education consists of fighting progressively more impossible opponents. Whis nodded agreement. His adaptive capacity in crisis situations is his most remarkable quality, even more so than raw power output. The council communed briefly before the chief counselor responded. Proposal accepted with conditions. Observer accompaniment required. Intervention parameters restricted to defensive operations only. I'll accompany him. Beerus volunteered immediately, destruction energy flickering around his form. My ought. Hority includes crisis response within my jurisdiction. As will I, Whis added calmly. My observational duties extend to unprecedented situations. Nari deactivated her holographic interfaces with a precise gesture. Universe 3 analytical protocols require direct observation of energy interaction patterns during crisis response. I will provide technical assessment. Kata stepped forward with fluid grace. Harmonic implications must be monitored to prevent cascading dissonance effects. I shall contribute balance assessment. The chief counselor's symbolic corona reconfigured to acknowledge their participation. Transit authorization granted. Junction Alpha coordinates transferring now. A specialized portal manifested, larger and more complex than standard transit apertures, its boundary. Reinforced with stabilization protocols visible as mathematical equations flowing like liquid around its circumference. Junction Alpha represents a critical intersection point between multiple universes. Whis explained as they approached the portal. Unlike normal transit between specific universes, junctions allow regulated passage between entire universal clusters. Think of them as cosmic highways connecting groups of universes, Nari elaborated, her augmented vision already scanning the portal's structure. Damage to a junction potentially affects multiple realities simultaneously. They are also points of exquisite harmonic convergence, Kata added, her headdress responding to the portal's energies with subtle color shifts. Places where the songs of different universes blend into higher melodies. As they prepared to transit, Goku sensed another presence approaching, distinct from the council's energy signatures but equally powerful in different dimensions. Space folded L. E. Gantley is a new figure manifested beside them. She appeared female but with ethereal qualities that suggested transcendence beyond conventional biological categories. Her form seemed composed of concentrated possibility rather than matter, solid from some angles, transparent from others, with temporal echoes preceding and following her movements. Her attire resembled formal Supreme Kai garments reimagined through non-Euclidean geometry. Patterns that shifted between past and future states simultaneously. The nexus anomaly must not engage the entity without proper contextual understanding, she stated. Her voice layered with multiple temporal variants of itself, past, present and future versions overlapping in harmonic resonance. The council members displayed immediate recognition. The Chi-F counselor's symbolic corona reconfigured to accommodate this unexpected addition. Observer Zena, they acknowledged formally. Your presence was not anticipated within current probability matrices. Probability calculations cannot account for factors they are designed to exclude, she replied cryptically. The convergence patterns necessitate direct intervention. Who are you? Goku asked directly, sensing power unlike anything he'd encountered, not greater than his new capabilities but fundamentally different, operating along dimensional axes his enhanced perception could barely detect. Zena of the temporal convergence. She introduced herself, studying him with eyes that shifted color according to which timeframe they were currently observing. I monitor probability cascades and see causal intersection points across the multiverse. A cosmic fortune teller, Goku asked, attempting to translate her abstract role into comprehensible terms. Her lips curved in slight amusement. An oversimplification, but not entirely inaccurate. I observe possible futures and, when necessary, ensure optimal convergence patterns. She's a chronal specialist from the Supreme Kai realm, Whis explained. Though her exact function remains deliberately obscured even from most divine entities. My interest in current events relates to unusual probability clusters surrounding your transformation, she told Goku directly. The emergence of Nexus Key in a mortal vessel correlates with 17 distinct prophecy matrices across multiple timelines. This information created visible reactions. Amen. The council members. Prophecy matrices represented the most reliable prediction methodologies in cosmic administration. You didn't mention prophecy involvement in your initial assessment, the third counselor observed with apparent concern. Information sequencing requires precise chronological distribution to avoid contaminating outcome parameters, Zena replied. The appropriate disclosure meant has arrived concurrent with the junction breach, a convergence point of considerable significance. Before further discussion could occur, the arbiter's warning systems intensified. Junction Alpha breach expanding, they reported. Entity progressing toward central nexus. Defensive personnel reporting reality distortion effects increasing in magnitude. We need to move now, Goku stated, calm. Bat instincts fully engaged despite his enhanced awareness of cosmic politics. Some aspects of his personality remained constant regardless of his transformation. The chief counselor made a decisive gesture. Proceed immediately. Priority objective. Containment and identification. Observer Zena is authorized to provide contextual information directly. The portal activated fully, its transit protocols initializing with mathematical precision. As their group approached the threshold, Zena moved alongside Goku. The entity you will encounter exists outside standard causal frameworks, she informed him. Her voice modulating to ensure only he could hear. Its presence here violates fundamental conservation principles, an impossibility made possible through deliberate cosmic sabotage. You know what it is, Goku observed, reading between her carefully chosen words. I know what it might become if unchecked, she corrected, temporal echoes of alternative statements overlapping with her actual response. The multiverse functions through balanced opposition, creation and destruction, order and chaos, existence and void. Your emergence represents an unprecedented surge in creative potential. Cosmic balance demands corresponding opposition. The implication clarified with disturbing precision. His transformation hadn't merely broken personal limitations but triggered cosmic scale balancing mechanisms. You're saying this thing is here because of me. Causality relationships are rarely linear at this scale, she replied, neither confirming nor denying his conclusion directly. What matters is that your unique capabilities may be the only effective countermeasure to its dimensional disruption techniques. They crossed the portal threshold together, reality reconfiguring around THM as they transitioned to Junction Alpha. The transit experience differed dramatically from conventional teleportation. Instead of instantaneous displacement, they moved through successive layers of reality, each with distinct physical properties and temporal characteristics. Junction Alpha manifested as a vast crystalline structure suspended within a dimensionless void. Its architecture defied conventional geometry, bridges and pathways connecting floating platforms arranged in patterns corresponding to cosmic organizational principles rather than practical navigation. Throughout the structure, portals of varying sizes pulsed with distinct energies, each connecting to different universal clusters. The junction's defenders had established concentric defensive formations around its central nave. Thus, entities of various divine classifications positioned according to tactical specializations. Vala coordinated frontline responders, her destroyer training evident in the precise deployment patterns. At the junction's core, reality itself appeared wounded, a spreading distortion where normal physics broke down completely. Within this disruption, something moved with deliberate purpose, an entity whose form constantly shifted between contradictory states of existence. One moment solid and massive, the next diffuse and gaseous, occasionally fragmenting into multiple instances before recombining. Containment barriers failing, reported a junction security coordinator, a humanoid figure whose body appeared composed of liquid crystal. Entity demonstrates dimensional phasing capabilities beyond our countermeasure specifications. As they observed, the entity absorbed a section of junction structure, not destroying but incorporating the material into its constantly shifting form, analyzing and replicating its properties before discarding it. It's learning, Nari observed, her augmented vision recording detailed analysis. Each interaction increases its adaptation efficiency by approximately 18.7%. The dissonance patterns evolve with each assimilation, Keita confirmed, her headdress flowers closing defensively as she sensed the harmonic disruption. It converts ordered structures into chaotic potential. Vala approached their position, her formal demeanor strained by tactical pressure. Standard containment protocols prove ineffective. The entity phases between dimensional states faster than barriers can reconfigure. Conventional attack methodologies similarly unsuccessful, reported Lyra, joining them from another section. Energy-based offensive techniques are absorbed and repurposed. Physical attacks pass through during phase transitions. Beerus studied the entity with narrowed eyes. Hawkeye energy might prove effective, but using destruction techniques in a junction risks cascading damage to connected universes. Goku stepped forward, his enhanced perception analyzing the entity's movement patterns. It's not random, he observed, tracking subtle essences within the chaotic transformations. There's a pattern to its phase shifts, a rhythm. Zena nodded. Perceptive. The entity exists as a probability wave rather than a fixed manifestation. Its apparent chaos follows higher-order mathematics beyond conventional dimensional constraints. Can we predict the pattern? Goku asked, already formulating tactical approaches. Conventional prediction algorithms prove insufficient. Nari responded, her holographic interfaces displaying failed computational attempts. The pattern incorporates variables from dimensional domains our models cannot access. Goku closed his eyes, extending his awareness through his connection to Nexus Key. Rather than trying to analyze the entity conventionally, he allowed his enhanced perception to experience its dimensional transitions directly, feeling the rhythmic pulses of its existence as one might feel musical beats. I can track it, he stated with quiet confidence. Not predict exactly, but sense the flow enough to time an intervention. Intervention with what objective? Vala questioned. Conventional offensive techniques have proven ineffective. Not destruction, Goku replied, his strategy forming intuitively. Stabilization. Nari looked skeptical. Forcing probability wave collapse requires energy control precision beyond theoretical limits. Theory isn't always practice, Goku responded. With a hint of his characteristic determination. Sometimes you have to feel the moment rather than calculate it. He stepped toward the distortion, his multi-hued aura manifesting in response to his focused intent. The Nexus Key flowed through his form in precise patterns, responding to his martial artist's discipline and warrior's intuition rather than formal cosmic knowledge. The entity's end state makes conventional engagement impossible, Whis cautioned. Its dimensional phasing negates physical interaction. Then I'll have to match it, Goku replied, surprising them all. If it exists between states, I'll need to do the same. Before anyone could object, Goku's form began to shift, not transforming in the conventional sense but altering the fundamental relationship between his psychical manifestation and underlying reality. The Nexus Key allowed him to modulate his existence across multiple dimensional states simultaneously, partially phasing out of normal reality while maintaining conscious control. Impossible, whispered Nari, her augmented vision struggling to track his transformation. He's inducing controlled quantum superposition at macroscopic scale. The harmonic patterns, Keita observed with wonder. They mirror the entity's dissonance but with deliberate constructive interference. Goku's form became increasingly difficult to perceive directly, present Bu. Chi partially existing in dimensional domains beyond conventional observation. His aura expanded, no longer simply surrounding him but integrating with his being, allowing his consciousness to extend beyond normal physical constraints. With this altered state achieved, he advanced toward the entity, moving not just physically but through probability states that matched its chaotic existence. Each STEP placed him simultaneously in multiple potential positions, his movements becoming probabilistic rather than deterministic. The entity reacted immediately, sensing a phenomenon that matched its own nature. Its chaotic transitions briefly stabilized as it focused attention on this new development. Contact imminent, Nari reported, holographic displays tracking energy pattern convergence. Interact. Chion between Nexus Key and entity's probability field will occur in approximately 3.2 seconds. The harmonic implications are incalculable, Keita added, her headdress fully extended in response to the escalating energies. Zena watched with unusual intensity, her temporal perception revealing causal branches multiplying exponentially around this moment. A critical convergence point, she murmured. One of 17 potential awakening scenarios. As Goku's probability field intersected with the entity's, reality itself seemed to hold its breath, dimensional constants momentarily suspending as two impossible existences engaged directly. The contact created a cascading reaction, ripples of energy propagating through junction alpha's structure and beyond, resonating through connected universes like cosmic thunder. Within the overlapping fields, Goku experienced the entity directly, not merely observing but connecting with its fundamental nature. The sensation transcended conventional interaction, more akin to two conflicting mathematical equations attempting to resolve their contradictions. Through this connection, understanding flowed both ways. Goku sensed ancient purpose within the entity's chaotic existence, not mindless destruction but deliberate cosmic function. A counterbalance, a necessary opposition, a force designed to test and strengthen reality's foundations through controlled challenge. Simultaneously, the entity experienced something entirely outside its predetermined function, a being that existed between categories, neither mortal nor divine, incorporating Kriti. Vey energies without corresponding destructive imperative, an impossibility that nevertheless persisted. Their interaction lasted mere seconds in conventional time but encompassed vast informational exchange. As their fields separated, both emerged transformed by the encounter. Goku rematerialized fully, his form stabilizing as he reintegrated with normal dimensional parameters. The entity likewise coalesced into more coherent manifestation, still shifting between states but with reduced chaotic amplitude, its transitions following more comprehensible patterns. Fascinating, Nari breathed, her holographic interfaces struggling to process the recorded data. The entity's probability field has partially synchronized with stabilized quantum parameters. The dissonance resolves toward harmonic compatibility, Keita confirmed, her headdress blooming with new patterns reflecting the altered energetic environment. Most significantly, the entity's aggressive assimilation behavior had ceased. Chi maintained position at Junction Alpha's core, its fluctuations contained within a self-imposed boundary that respected the structure's integrity. Vala approached cautiously, her destroyer training evident in her precise assessment movements. The immediate threat appears neutralized, but classification remains uncertain. What did you experience during contact? Goku struggled to translate multidimensional concepts into language. It's not exactly hostile, more like testing. Probing reality's structure to identify weaknesses. He paused, organizing complex impressions. It has purpose, and NT programming established during previous cosmic cycles. Programming implies creator intent, Lyra observed, her crystalline structures oriented toward the stabilized entity. Did you sense origination parameters? Not specifically, but Goku frowned, accessing information absorbed during contact. It responds to fundamental imbalance. When cosmic forces shift too dramatically toward creation or destruction, entities like this activate to restore equilibrium. Zena stepped forward, her temporal echoes briefly synchronized into perfect clarity. The recursion sentinels, she stated with unusual directness. Safeguards implemented following the seventh cosmic collapse, designed to prevent catastrophic harmony disruption through targeted dissonance introduction. This identification readed visible reactions among Junction security personnel, recognition of something believed mythological suddenly manifesting as concrete reality. But recursion sentinels are theoretical constructs, Nari objected, her scientific training challenging mythological explanation. Hypothetical mechanisms postulated in ancient cosmological models but never observationally confirmed. Absence of conference. Armation reflects successful implementation rather than non-existence, Zena countered. The sentinels activate only during critical divergence points, moments when established cosmic parameters face unprecedented disruption. All eyes turned to Goku, the implication unmistakable. My transformation triggered it, he acknowledged, connecting final pieces. Accessing unrestricted nexus key created sufficient imbalance to activate a corrective response. But you stabilized it, Keita observed. Brought harmony to its dissonance rather than engaging in destructive opposition. Beerus snorted. Typical Goku approach. Make friends with the cosmic threat rather than destroying it. Not friendship exactly, Goku corrected, still processing the interaction's nuances. More like mutual recognition. It sensed I wasn't trying to destabilize reality deliberately, while I understood its function isn't malevolent destruction. Whis studied both Goku and the partially stabilized Sentinel with analytical precision. An unexpected resolution with significant implications. If recursion sentinels can be harmonized rather than merely contained or destroyed, entire cosmic defense protocols require reconsideration. Security coordinators had established a modified containment perimeter, not to restrain the sentinel but to monitor its stabilization process and protect junction infrastructure during its continuing transitions. The immediate crisis appears resolved, Vala reported professionally, but comprehensive assessment requires extended observation. The Sentinel's long-term stability remains unconfirmed. I'll maintain quantum coherence monitoring, Nari volunteered, her scientific curiosity fully engaged. The interaction between nexus key and probability wave functions demonstrates principles that transcend our current theoretical frameworks. Harmonic stabilization patterns require careful calibration, Keita added. I shall contribute resonance adjustment protocols to maintain balanced energy distribution. As the immediate crisis response transitioned to ongoing management, Zena approached Goku directly, her temporal echoes once again desynchronized into past-present-future overlaps. You acted on intuitive understanding rather than formal knowledge, she observed, her tone revealing neither approval nor criticism. A characteristic approach consistent across multiple probability timelines. It felt right, Goku replied simply. Fighting wasn't the answer. The Sentinel isn't evil, just fulfilling its function. And thereby demonstrated precisely why the Nexus Key manifested within you specifically. She continued, her gaze shifting between different temporal perspectives. The prophecy matrices converge on this particular quality, power tempered by understanding. Strength guided by intuitive harmony. You mentioned prophecies before, Goku recalled. Something about 17 matrices. The ancient recursion texts speak of nexus potential, the theoretica. Possibility of consciousness achieving harmonic integration with primordial creation energy. Her voice took on formal cadence, reciting rather than explaining. When boundaries between mortal and divine dissolve, the awakened one shall emerge, neither god nor man but transcendent bridge between ordered creation and chaotic potential. That sounds suspiciously specific to recent events, Lyra commented, joining their conversation with typical demonic grace. Prophecies usually require considerable interpretive flexibility to match actual occurrences. Unless they're not predictions but observations, Zena countered. Recorded by entities existing outside linear temporal constraints. This cryptic statement created momentary silence as its implications registered. Are you suggesting he prophecies were written by beings who could perceive future events directly? Nari questioned, scientific skepticism evident despite her augmented perceptions. Temporal linearity represents merely one possible organizational framework for experiential consciousness, Zena replied. Alternative perception methodologies exist throughout the multiverse. More importantly, Goku interjected, focusing on practical implications. What does this prophecy say happens next? If I'm this awakened one, what am I supposed to do? Zena's expression shifted subtly, something resembling concern briefly. Why visible before her professional neutrality reasserted itself. The prophecy matrices diverge following initial awakening. Multiple potential development paths branch from this convergence point, with significantly varied outcomes. Some good, some bad, Goku translated. Multiversal stability hangs in probabilistic balance, she confirmed. Your actions, particularly how you integrate and utilize E-Nexus Key, influence which probability branches materialize into experienced reality. No pressure, Beerus commented sardonically. Whis studied Zena with unusual intensity. Your presence here suggests official chronological division involvement rather than merely observational interest. The Supreme Kai hierarchy typically maintains strict non-intervention policies regarding evolutionary divergences. Exceptional circumstances necessitate protocol adjustments, she replied carefully. My authorization comes directly from the Temporal Oversight Council. This information created visible ray-cessions among those familiar with cosmic administrative structures. The Temporal Oversight Council operated at authority levels comparable to the Grand Priest himself. Then you're not just observing, Vala deduced. You have specific directives regarding the Nexus anomaly. My assignment encompasses multiple objectives, Zena acknowledged. Observation represents merely the initial phase. And the subsequent phases? Goku asked directly. Guidance, when requested, she replied, meeting his gaze directly. The prophecy matrices indicate highest probability of positive outcomes when the awaken. Ed 1 receives appropriate contextual information regarding Nexus Key capabilities and cosmic scale consequences. You're offering to teach me, Goku clarified, his enhanced perception detecting careful precision in her word choice. Not instruction in conventional sense, she corrected. Rather, illumination of connections between seemingly disparate cosmic principles. Your intuitive comprehension on already demonstrates remarkable effectiveness. Contextual framework merely enhances natural capabilities. Before Goku could respond, Junction Alpha's communication systems activated, projecting Chief Counselor's symbolic representation throughout the structure. Situation report required, came the formal request. Entity containment status and classification confirmation priority. Vala S. Stepped forward to deliver the official response. Entity temporarily stabilized through direct Nexus key interaction. Classification confirmed as Recursion Sentinel, currently in post-activation assessment phase. Junction structural integrity maintained with minimal damage to tertiary systems. A brief pause followed this report, likely the Council processing implications of the Sentinel's confirmed identity. All observational personnel returned to Council chamber for comprehensive debriefing, came the subsequent directive. Priority assessment of Recursion Sentinel activation parameters and STA. Bilization methodology required for protocol adaptation. Specialized transit portals manifested throughout Junction Alpha, providing direct return paths to the multiversal nexus. As the response team prepared for departure, Goku took a final moment to observe the stabilized Sentinel. Its form had achieved greater coherence, still transitioning between states but with purposeful pattern rather than chaotic fluctuation. Most significantly, it had established resonant harmony with Junction Alpha's structure, its energy signatures adapting to complement rather than disrupt the cosmic intersection point. It's learning, he observed quietly, adapting its function to current conditions rather than following rigid programming. As are you, Zena noted, temporal echoes briefly aligning to emphasize her observation. Mutual evolution through interaction, a fundamental principle underlying cosmic development across recursion cycles. Will it remain stable? Nari questioned, her analytical mind focused on practical outcomes. Current readings suggest temporary harmonic alignment rather than permanent reconfiguration. Nothing remains permanently static in multiversal systems, Kata responded. Her perspective shaped by Universe 2's harmony-centered philosophy. Balance requires continuous minor adjustments to prevent major disruptions. As they transited back to the council chamber, Goku reflected on how dramatically his existence had transformed in mere hours. From hitting a training plateau on Earth to engaging with fundamental cosmic forces and ancient prophetic matrices, the aggression would have seemed absurd to his former self. Yet his core identity remained intact despite these extraordinary developments. His warrior spirit, his determination to grow stronger, his intuitive approach to seemingly impossible challenges, these essential qualities had not changed but rather found new expression through his enhanced capabilities. The council chamber had reconfigured again. By their return, the emergency command center giving way to a formal assessment arena designed for comprehensive debriefing. The 12 council members occupied elevated positions surrounding a central presentation space. Their forms now stabilized into more formal manifestations appropriate for extended deliberation. Additional observers had joined the proceedings, representatives from various Mike administrative divisions arranged according to jurisdictional authority and functional specialization. The unprecedented nature of recent events had drawn attention from entities normally content to remain distant from direct proceedings. The Chief Counselor initiated formal proceedings. Junction Alpha Incident Assessment begins. Primary objectives. Establish accurate event chronology, confirm Recursion Sentinel classification. Determine activation parameters, evaluate containment methodologies, and implement appropriate adaptive protocols. What followed was the most comprehensive debriefing Goku had ever experienced, each participant contributing specialized perspective on the encounter, supported by multidimensional recordings, energy pattern analyses, probability calculations, and harmonic resonance mapping. Nari provided technical assessment with precise scientific terminology. Kata offered harmonic implications through metaphorical frameworks. Vala delivered tactical evaluation with professional detachment. Lyra contributed historical context from ancient demon realm archives. Throughout this process, Goku observed the subtle political currents flowing beneath official proceedings, competing interpretations, jurisdictional positioning, and theoretical frameworks reflecting different universal philosophies and administrative agendas. His enhanced perception revealed years of meaning beyond verbal exchanges, energy signatures fluctuating with emotional responses, probability fields shifting as arguments gained or lost traction, causal threads connecting seemingly unrelated statements to reveal underlying motivations. When technical presentations concluded, attention inevitably returned to the central question: what had triggered a recursion sentinel's activation after trillions of years of dormancy? The evidence clearly indicates correlation between Son Goku's Nexus key integration and sentinel activation, summarized the 8th counselor. Temporal alignment. Qi demonstrates causative relationship beyond statistical coincidence. Correlation without contextualization creates incomplete assessment framework, countered the 6th counselor. Historical recall. DS indicate multiple sentinel activations during previous cosmic cycles without corresponding nexus anomaly manifestation. Previous activations occurred under fundamentally different universal configuration parameters, argued the 3rd counselor. Current multiverse organizational structure specifically incorporates safeguards against unregulated nexus energy utilization. The debate continued with increasing complexity. Cosmic scale implications expanding with each analytical layer. Throughout this exchange, Goku remained silent, absorbing perspectives while integrating them with his direct experiential understanding. Finally, he spoke, his simple directness cutting through elaborate theoretical constructs. The sentinel responded to imbalance, he stated. Not just my transformation, but something larger. I felt it during our connection, concern about systemic instability predating my involvement. This observation created momentary silence as its implications registered. Specify systemic instability parameters, requested the chief counselor, symbolic corona reconfiguring to analysis formation. Not something I can explain technically, Goku admitted. More like an impressee on of building pressure within reality's structure. Small cracks appearing in foundational systems. The sentinel perceived my transformation as symptom rather than primary cause. Zena stepped forward, her temporal echoes momentarily synchronized. This assessment aligns with probability calculations from the chronological division. Recent temporal stability metrics indicate increasing deviation from established parameters across multiple universal systems. Why wasn't this reported through standard monitoring protocols? Demanded the 2nd counselor. Deviations remained within acceptable variance thresholds when measured individually, Zena explained. Collective pattern emergence becomes apparent only when analyzed through trans-temporal correlation methodologies. In simpler terms, each small change seemed insignificant until viewed as part of a larger pattern extending through time. The nexus key manifestation potentially represents adaptive response rather than random anomaly, suggested the 5th counselor. System-generated countermeasure to address underlying instability through innovative reconfiguration. As does the sentinel's appearance, added the 9th counselor. Complementary adjustment mechanisms activating simultaneously rather than opposing forces. This interpretation created ripples of reaction throughout the chamber, a fundamental reconsideration of W. Hat these unprecedented events might represent. If both anomalies serve corrective functions, reasoned the chief counselor, continued observation rather than restrictive intervention may prove optimal response strategy. Beerus seized this opportunity with uncharacteristic political acumen. As I proposed initially, Universe 7 jurisdiction with appropriate monitoring protocols allows natural street abilization process to proceed with necessary oversight. The council entered communion once more, their symbolic representations merging to facilitate consensus formation. When they separated, their decision was apparent through reconfigured positional arrangements. Provisional consensus established, announced the chief counselor. The nexus anomaly designated Son Goku returns to Universe 7 und. Modified observation protocols rather than restrictive containment. Multiversal implications require continued assessment, but intervention thresholds are adjusted to accommodate evolutionary potential. This represented significant victory for Goku's freedom of action, official recognition that his transformation might serve positive function within cosmic systems rather than representing mere disruption requiring correction. However, continued the chief counselor, comprehensive monitoring remains necessary given unprecedented nature of both Nexus key manifestation and recursion sentinel activation. Observer delegation will accompany subject to Universe 7 to maintain assessment continuity and provide specialized expertise. Vala nodded formally. Universe 11 acknowledges continued observation responsibility. The demon realm maintains scholarly interest in evolutionary implications, Lyra added smoothly. Universe 3 analytical protocols require ongoing documentation of energy integration patterns, Nari stated. Her scientific curiosity evident. Harmonic balance assessment necessitates continuous resonance monitoring, Keita confirmed. Temporal Oversight Council directs continued probability matrix tracking. Zena concluded. In practical terms, all 5 women would accompany Goku back to Earth, each representing different cosmic interests while providing specialized know-how edge regarding his unprecedented transformation. Beerus appeared momentarily startled by this development before masking his reaction with typical scowling indifference. Whis, however, displayed sub-tle amusement, a barely perceptible smile suggesting he found the arrangement entertaining on multiple levels. Transit authorization granted, declared the chief counselor. Return to Universe 7 approved with observer delegation. Emergency communication protocols established for immediate notification should significant developments occur. With formal proceedings concluded, specialized return TRA, NSIT portals manifested, precisely calibrated to deposit participants at their original departure points. As they prepared for return to Earth, Goku found himself at the center of an unexpected entourage. 5 powerful women from different cosmic hierarchies, each with distinct perspectives and specialties, plus Beerus and Whis maintaining their traditional oversight roles. Well, he said with characteristic understatement. This should be interesting. Indeed, Whis agreed, his staff materializing in hand as transit preparations completed. I suspect Earth is about to experience cultural exchange on unprecedented scale. Your residence facility likely requires significant expansion, Nari observed practically. Standard dimensional parameters appear insufficient for observer delegation accommodation. What? Goku asked, momentarily confused. I believe she means your house, Lyra translated, amusement dancing in her eyes. Which I gather from contextual inference is rather modest by cosmic diplomatic standards. That's putting it mildly, Beerus muttered. The Saiyan lives in a mountain dwelling that barely accommodates his immediate family unit. Dwelling specifications represent secondary concern, Vala stated professionally. Observation functionality supersedes comfort considerations. Though harmonious environment facilitates optimal assessment conditions, Keita countered gently. Probability matrices indicate residential arrangements will resolve through unexpected parameters, Zena added cryptically, temporal echoes briefly revealing amused expressions. As the transit portal activated, Goku realized his life had transformed in ways that extended far beyond mere power enhancement. The Limitless God Key had altered not only his capabilities but his PLA. CE within cosmic hierarchies, and apparently his living arrangements as well. The portal engulfed their group, reality reconfiguring as they began their journey back to Earth. Universe 7's familiar cosmic signature surrounded them as dimensional transit progressed, homeward passage carrying them toward consequences and possibilities none could fully predict, not even Zena with her temporal perception. One certainty remained as they traversed realities: nothing would ever be quite the same again. ___. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.